Welcome to the Legal Advice in Paradise podcast, brought to you by www.legaladviceinparadise.com. Even in one of the most beautiful places in the world, life can be litigious. On this podcast, the best and brightest legal minds gather to help you navigate your way through every legal question you may face. This program will help you know your rights, know what steps to take, and help you find the best legal representation, all in simple, easy to understand terms. And now, here's your host, Justine Gronwald.
Aloha, and thank you for tuning in to our next podcast episode. Want to make sure you never miss an episode, as well as get tips on how to hire an attorney and be eligible for monthly prizes? It's easy. Just join our free membership called the Agent of Change membership. Text your name and your email to area code 808-670-3400. Make sure you text back agree. And also, to check out our past episodes, just log into www.legaladviceinparadisepodcast.com. Now enjoy the next episode. Aloha. Aloha, Agents of Change. This is Justine from Legal Advice in Paradise. And today's episode will be featuring Nightingale case management with my sister Tiffany Brown.
Hello.
And the reason that we're doing this is that I interviewed attorney Scott Makuakane, and that was in episode 16 where he talked about elder law. And during our conversation, he talked about it's all about planning ahead. And planning ahead includes long-term care. What are you doing to plan for that? So if you missed that episode, you can simply go to www.legaladviceinparadisepodcast.com, and you can scroll down to or look for View in iTunes episode 16. And also, so you don't miss any episodes, become an agent of change. And that's simple. Just text your name and your email to area code 808-670-3400, and you will never miss an episode of really, really great information. So before we begin, I just want to introduce you to my sister, and I want to thank her for her time because she is 7 months pregnant. Yes. And it's after hours, and so she's taking her time to be with us to tell her all about the family company, Nightingale Case Management, and the benefits of using their services for long-term care. So I'm going to ask you though, how long has Nightingale Case Management been around?
We've been around now for 13 years. So we started in 2000, and we're coming up on our 14th year in August.
Wow, yes. That's next month already.
Yes.
Yeah, so Tiffany's been from the beginning, right?
Yes, very day one. Day one.
And see, there's 8 kids. I'm number 2, and she's number 8. Yeah. But anyway, so it's a family business, right? And tell us a little bit about exactly what Nightingale does. It has to do with long-term care, but it's placement. Yes. So explain a little bit about that.
Well, we do placement as well as management. So placement, when we say placement, what we do is a client would be referred to us by a hospital or from someone in the community. It really depends where they're coming from. And at this point they're looking for long-term care. So with our homes throughout the community, what we do is we match the client with a caregiver, and we do the actual placement. So we'll do a service plan or a plan of care. Our nurse will follow up with their care every month, make sure that they're taking the proper medications and things like that. But the first process is to do an assessment of the client and then to do the matching of the home. So clients are really given a choice as to where they want to be placed, whether it's the client making the choice or a family member making the choice.
Okay.
Yeah.
So when you say family member making a choice, we did talk about with Scott Makuakane, the attorney, about directives. Do directives come into play with all of that? I mean, is that part of who makes the decision?
Right, it is. And we try to have those in place before the client goes into the home, if it's not already in place when they come to us. So yes, we like to have that so that there is someone who can make a decision in case the client becomes incapacitated or unable to make decisions for themselves.
Right, we did mention that in the planning stage, because none of us know when we're going to be incapacitated, and so there has to be something in place.
Yes.
So I have some questions here so I don't get off track. Explain the difference between placing your loved one in a community care foster family home, which your caregivers are, versus a nursing home, hospital, hospice, or any other facilities. What would be the difference of taking your aging parent or grandparent? Because, you know, when it gets to that point, it's a very emotional decision. You want to make sure they have the best care, or actually what they can afford. You know, all those things come into play. So tell us the difference between what those care homes, the foster care homes, are, as opposed to a nursing home.
Okay. Well, let me give you some history. The whole purpose of our agency and the program that we work with the state of Hawaii was because nursing homes were becoming over full.
Wow.
There's no space. There's a long waiting list. As in my knowledge is that there's a waiting list of, I don't know, several months.
That's a while.
Yeah.
When you need somebody to be placed right away.
Right. And so with the growing population of the elderly in Hawaii, they had to get creative, and they came up with a program to put seniors or elderly into homes that are licensed in the community. And our homes are licensed to care for clients who are at that intermediate care facility level of care, meaning it's almost like a nursing home level of care. However, the client is placed into a community setting. So they'll go into a home, which is licensed by the state, of course, and they'll get personalized care there 24 hours a day. And it's also overseen by one of our nurses or social workers, or both. So that's the difference. The biggest difference is that they're not in an institution.
Oh, yeah, so I think people are worried about that, the whole institution thing, I guess because we see movies and stuff like that, like One Who Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, and I'm starting to show my age, but, you know, where you just throw everybody into this, you know, this place, and everybody is like, is that where my loved one is going to end up? And so this is totally different.
Right. It's an alternative to institutionalized care, and I don't know what the studies have shown yet, but I'm sure that has an impact on, you know, the life of your client in the home, to be in a setting that is a home-like setting with a family around you. And you know, most of our caregivers have children. Their husbands are their substitute caregivers, meaning that they provide assistance to the primary caregiver.
So someone's always there.
Someone is always there. They're required to always have a substitute caregiver there watching the clients. So, I mean, it is an alternative to institutionalization, which some people like. Some people prefer to have that, you know, home setting.
Right. And each home accepts how many clients in each home? What's the maximum?
They can have a maximum of up to 3, but that third client has to be like a relicensing. So normally if you're just going to open up your home, you'll get licensed for 2. But to say you have capacity, you have room, you have the caregivers to care for a third client, you have to get another license for the third client.
Oh, I see.
So it is a process. And the state is, you know, they oversee everything. It's really strict rules and regulations that our company as well as our caregivers fall under.
Oh, so that's good. So that you know, people who are interested, they can be secure in knowing that it's checked out. It's a good, reputable house.
Oh yes, we're overseen by, I would say, 4 bodies right now: the state, the health plans. We have someone who does our contracting for us. So it is really a program that is heavily monitored.
Oh, that's good. So people placing their loved ones in there can feel really good about it.
Right.
Yeah. And the homes that you have, on the island of Oahu, predominantly, where are these homes located?
Well, most of them are concentrated on the west side. However, they are scattered throughout. I would say there's some in town, as well as Kaneohe and that side. But majority of them do reside on the west side.
Okay, okay. And how many do you have at this time?
I think we have about, it's grown. So
yeah, okay, that's good. That's
it's
good.
about, I know we have over 200 homes. I can say that.
Wow, so that's keeping you busy.
Right, and the total number of homes on island is a lot larger than 200. So they are all over the place.
Now, do you have a waiting list at this time? Like, if somebody wanted to contact you right now, I imagine even if you don't have an opening, you do give them information about what you offer?
Right, we do. We don't have a wait list. We might have, if a client is looking for a home in Kaneohe, and like I said, they're limited on that side, we may not be able to find a home in Kaneohe for them. But we do offer alternate, locations, maybe town or something. We ask them to try to be a little bit flexible in understanding that our caregivers are mostly concentrated on the west side. So, but as far as wait lists, we don't have. We have a lot of homes
that's good.
that are licensed and that have open beds.
Yeah. So what I'm going to do, Agents of Change, is that those of you who are our members, in my email to you will have all the information about Nightingale Case Management, as well as when you see it in iTunes, the information. But I'm going to ask more questions. What are the benefits of a foster home? I think we kind of covered that a little.
Right.
You have highly trained caregivers.
Yes. Our caregivers are certified by the state. So before they can accept a client, they have to go through training and certification by the state. So we are not responsible for licensing them. So we know that their licensing process is stringent because we go through the same type of licensing process with the state. So yes, they are trained. They're at minimum a certified nurse's aide.
Oh, that's a CNA.
Yes, CNA. We do have some registered nurses, a couple of LPNs. But at minimum, they're certified nurses' aides.
Okay, and they're, of course, then they can administer medication. And
right, under the license of our registered nurse.
Oh, I see, I see. Also, you have low patient to care ratio. So you were saying the maximum is 3 beds.
Yes.
And that they do have a, what do you call it? They're the primary caregiver, and then there's the substitute. So if any, it's 24/7.
Yes, yes.
Okay. And then Nightingale has a clinical team of licensed registered nurses and social workers. So explain the role that each has within this agency as part of the long-term care.
Okay, so the registered nurses are responsible for going out every month to check on each of our clients in the home. So we have a team of them that, visit our clients every month. But not only that, before a client is actually placed into a home, we have to get a registered nurse to do a medical assessment to see if they even qualify to be in one.
Qualify.
Yes, they have to qualify medically to be in our program. So our nurse is responsible for making that assessment and then following up every month thereafter or as needed. So, if a client is hospitalized and comes back to the foster home, we have to send our nurse to follow up on the client's care when they come home from the hospitalization. That's a requirement. Or if there's an issue and maybe they're not adjusting well to the home and they're having maybe some behavioral issues or adjustment issues, we will send a social worker out there to help intervene with that. So it's not just a strict only once a month our professional staff goes out. Yeah, it's as needed as well.
And then how does a social worker come into play with that?
The social worker will mostly do social assessments and intervention when it comes to social issues. We've had cases where again they're having adjustment issues, meaning they've come from living alone their whole life, and then they're having to be placed into someone else's care and someone else's home, and they're not adjusting really well to that. Maybe they're getting depressed. Maybe they're talking about, wanting to go back home a lot and not seeing family members. Our social worker, will go in there and she'll intervene and she'll consult with the client as well as the client's family and the caregiver on what they can do to ease that, difficult adjustment.
Transition period.
The transition period.
And as far as Nightingale case management, when those kind of things come up, is it you who notifies the family members or whoever is, the how would you say, like in the directives, it's maybe the son or daughter?
Yes.
How are they notified? Are they notified each time something like this occurs?
Yes, we try to notify them. It really depends. Sometimes caregivers will take the matter into their own hands, and that's fine. They'll call the son or the daughter, for example, and say, your mom needs to go to the hospital. I'm sending her to the hospital. That's an example. Otherwise, if they don't, then it's up to us, the case management, to notify the family.
I see. So it's a 7-day-a-week thing, because you never know when these issues will come up.
Yes, our nurses and social workers are on call 24 hours a day.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's good to know.
Yeah.
Also, Scott Makuakane, the attorney, also talked about planning ahead for the long-term care and how it's going to be paid. And so, how does a client typically pay for this type of adult foster care?
There's several ways. First of all, there's private pay, meaning the family or the client has money to pay for the care every month. Some people have long-term care insurance that could also be used to pay, depending upon the policy. We've come across clients who's had the long-term care policy, but because our program is so new, and maybe
it didn't grandfather in?
Right, and or maybe the company is from the mainland and they don't understand, what we do. So sometimes they won't. They're not able to use their long-term care insurance.
Oh, okay.
The second way is through Medicaid. So if you qualify for Medicaid, and that's based on your income and assets, I'm sorry, not your income, it's based on your assets, then Medicaid will pay for our services, case management, as well as the caregiver services.
And on average, like if someone comes to you with, say, private pay, that means they're not using any kind of assistance. What's the average cost to them?
Well, it depends on the type of care that is needed, but just to give you a range, it can range anywhere from, I would say, $3,500 all the way up to, I've seen $5,000 at the most. And per month. And that's because the client needed a lot of care and a lot of intervention from our professional staff, our nurses and social workers. So.
And then if they qualify for Medicaid, is there an out-of-pocket, or does Medicaid take care of the whole thing?
Medicaid covers the whole thing. The only thing that the client would pay for out-of-pocket would be the room and board, and normally that would come from the Social Security that they would receive.
Oh, so Social Security comes into play as well.
It does. It's to pay room and board.
So in that case, then there's no out-of-pocket for family members, or
No,
very little? Or?
Very little, if any at all.
Okay, but they have to qualify, so when they come here, they have to fill out all the paperwork.
Yes.
And what kind of documents or identification do you need for applying for Medicaid?
They do need some sort of type of valid ID. They need bank statements, any proof of income. So if they're receiving Social Security, they're going to want to see a letter from Social Security saying this is how much they receive every month. Burial plots, ownership of homes.
Yeah, because burial plots is that's an asset. That's
Yeah.
real estate in Hawaii.
Yeah, it is.
That's worth something.
So all of those documentation is what Medicaid is going to require. But we do offer assistance with applying for Medicaid.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
So they don't have to go it alone, and you'll send off all the documents.
Yes.
And typically, how long does it take before you find out you're qualified?
It can take up to 2 to 3 months.
Oh, okay. So meanwhile, the family has to figure out a way to pay for care, or not, or just wait until that moment, and then the family just cares for the loved one at that time?
Yes.
Okay.
Normally, or sometimes, family will pay out of pocket. And then when Medicaid kicks in, we'll reimburse them.
Oh, it does. So it retroacts?
Normally it does,
Okay,
depending upon, whether they can get the documents in on time and whatnot. If everything falls into place, that normally goes back to the date of application. And then that way, if the family or the client has been paying out of pocket, we can reimburse.
Oh, that's good to know. Okay, that's good to know. Now, we wanted to find out what the difference is between Medicare and Medicaid, and I see here that you have somewhat of the difference, because when I talked to Scott Makuakane, he said Medicare is automatic when you turn 65.
Yes.
But how does that come into play? Does it cover anything of this adult foster care home?
No, Medicare does not cover.
Okay,
because we're not a nursing home. I know it says here that they do cover nursing home care, but we're not a nursing home, so it doesn't cover.
Okay.
But Part A covers hospital visits and things like that. And then Part B, because there's Part A and Part B. Part B covers doctor's visits and maybe outpatient care or ambulance services and durable medical equipment. So
it's outside of the care home.
Yeah.
It's the stuff that they would need other than.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Okay.
So, but it covers equipment or maybe some supplies if the client needs like a bed, a hospital bed, or a wheelchair.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. That's good to know, because it all comes together.
It does.
Yeah. Okay. Also, name the conditions, like the health challenges that your caregivers are able and trained to take care of. So if any of you out there have a loved one with these kinds of conditions, you know that they will be able to accommodate that.
Right.
So most of the commons one are which ones?
All dementia, for sure. A big population of our clients have dementia. We do give dementia training to our caregivers because it is so common. We have a nurse that specializes in caring for Alzheimer's dementia clients, and so she comes in and will do a training with our caregivers on dementia. You know, they wander and things like that happen.
That can be dangerous if they're found missing and they're just wandering the streets, right?
Yeah, and it happens. So we train them on that. Incontinence. So we train our caregivers on how to properly care for clients who can no longer, you know, use the bathroom or do proper toileting. So we train them on that. We also have clients who are bed and wheelchair bound, so they don't walk anymore. Our nurses, you know, ensure that they have the proper staff to offer assistance if they do need to be transferred or moved. Tube feeding is another one too.
Oh, tube feeding.
Yes, we have some tube feeding clients, and so our caregivers are able to, you know, provide that for them, and under the delegation of our nurses. So the nurses will offer training for tube feeding as well, and diabetes. So checking, you know, blood sugar levels and insulin, administering insulin and things like that. They can all do those things.
Okay.
And if they cannot, or if we feel that they're not capable of doing it, we won't put the client in that home.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah.
That's good. So that's the true way of placing. That's why you're the placement. You'll figure all that out. Yeah. That's
so
good.
If a nurse feels that a caregiver is not qualified or, you know, maybe unable to provide the care, you know, we have to say something. It's our obligation to say something, or to move the client to another home that is more able to provide that care.
Okay, that's good to know. That's good to know. And then who is on your staff? I know you've been, you know, with Mom's business for a while, but it's mainly family. So you treat everyone like family when they come in. Uncle Art, what exactly does he do here?
He is our intake coordinator. So any referrals that we get from the hospital or the community, he takes down their information, and he used to be a doctor in the Philippines. So he understands a lot of the medical terminology and
that's good.
Diagnosis and things like that. And so he takes in all that information, and he already has that knowledge of, you know, what this client needs, and he helps with matching, basically.
Oh, good.
Yeah, because he knows what our caregivers are capable of.
And then his son Jerome,
he's our medical transcriptionist, so he does all of our medication transcriptions and things like that. So with every client, we have a list. We call it a MAR. It's a medication administration record. And the caregiver is to initial every medication that is given to their clients every day.
That's good.
Yeah, so we create this chart of medication for them, and Jerome is responsible for creating that for them to ensure that all the medications are administered properly. And
that's really important.
Yes, because it can be dangerous if they're
not
giving the proper meds. But that order comes from the doctor.
Okay.
And so he transcribes it for us.
Yeah, so everybody's like orchestrated on this whole thing. And then, of course, we have our brother's wife, who's an RN.
Yes.
And she does part of the assessment.
Yep, she does. She's our full-time nurse here in the office, and she does assessments when we get referrals. She also has her own load of clients that she sees every month.
And then, of course, Mom.
Yep, Mom, and she's the head, and she's the president, and the decision maker, and
the hard worker.
The hard worker. She says she's the after-hours runner.
Yeah, she is. She is.
Yeah.
And she was nominated, or she was Filipino Businesswoman of the Year, 2012.
12?
Was it?
11?
11?
One of those years.
Anyway, we went. It was a big shindig and everything.
It was really cool.
Yeah. So I just wanted to let everybody know who's on the staff. Because,
I'm Shannon.
And Shannon does
Medicaid. So she's our Medicaid
she's the one that does the application. And
she does billing to Medicaid for us and for caregivers as well.
And then you, of course.
Yeah, I help run the office here in the operations, and
and then Mark.
And Mark, he has our private pay billing, so he handles all those claims to the private pay families and long-term care insurance.
Our brother Mark is number 5 out of the 8.
Yes.
Okay. We go by numbers.
Number,
because we're so huge. Okay, so do you work with APS, which is Adult Protection Services, and other organizations, and do they refer clients to you?
Yes, we actually get a bulk of our referrals from APS.
That, to me, is that like abuse?
It's abuse and neglect.
Because, you know, we Scott Makuakane and I talked about that whole, that part about, we didn't say the word abuse, but that's actually what it is.
Right. It's abuse and neglect and exploitation falls
exploitation
into that.
Yeah, we talked about the exploitation thing. And a great preventative measure is that you have to get all this planned ahead, so that when you're not incapacitated and you're fully aware, you need to sit down and say, okay, I want this person and that person, and it could change over time, but it's all about planning. Because I imagine that when families don't have that all together, you guys kind of get the brunt of that, because now you can't really make the decision. You got to find someone who will. So that's another tip, listening audience, always plan ahead to make this easier for the family and for those who want to help you with your long-term care in the placement. I mean, it domino effects all the way down to the caregiver.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
And, we've come across several cases where the client has no family and has no friends and never listed anybody, never did their planning ahead when they were, capable of doing it. And so, as an agency and as the ones responsible for the client's care, we have no one to consult with. The caregivers are not allowed to be the decision makers because it is a conflict of interest. So we don't recommend that a caregiver is named a decision maker for our clients. And so when it comes down to that, we either have to apply for guardianship, maybe get them a public guardian. That does cost a lot of money, and it takes a lot of time. Which, if you're on Medicaid, you probably won't have the money to pay for it. And so it's really difficult because decisions are going to need to be made, whether it's at the hospital or, anything can come up. So we would like to have that in place before the client is placed, but not everyone has that.
Okay. I just wanted to ask because I know there's that exploitation thing that we brought up.
That's a big thing now.
Are family members able to visit their loved ones at any time they want at these foster care homes, or is visitations limited to only certain times and days? Because this is private homes. So how is that arranged when loved ones want to visit their...
Well, our caregivers have visiting hours that they are able to set themselves. We don't tell them what they should make their visiting hours, but it has to be reasonable. The reason why they're allowed to set their own visiting hours is because they're their own business. So they're allowed to have say as to, when family members can come in and out to see the clients. So if you're not happy with caregivers' visiting hours, make sure you tell the case management, or before placing your loved one, double check their visiting hours to make sure it coincides with your schedule or what you want to see. But we do encourage the clients and the clients' family members to see and visit, as much as they could. They're allowed to take the clients out if the clients are able to, but we do have to have a release of responsibility.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're back. So I'm going to ask Tiffany to give all the contact information in case you're interested. So Tiffany, like your phone number and all that stuff.
Okay, our office phone number is area code 808-484-2205. You can also get more information on our website at www.nightingalecasemanagement.com. And our hours and the details of our program are all on our website.
Okay, excellent. So I had, of course, Tiffany here because it fell right into place with my of course, interview with Scott Makuakane. And so this is an alternative. He stresses how much importance there is in planning ahead. So if you have someone in need right now, if you know of someone, or you can already tell we all have aging parents, and the aging community is growing so quickly.
Yes.
So there's a lot of need for this.
Yes.
So contact Nightingale Case Management. And thank you to my sister Tiffany.
Oh, thank you.
And she's ready to have number 5 in September. The recording date of this is July 10th. So we're going to be welcoming grandchild number 18?
18.
Yeah. We're a thriving family.
It's growing quickly.
So in the video, we usually shaka out. And then we say in the audio, aloha and a hui ho.
Aloha.
Until next time.
Thank you for listening to the Legal Advice in Paradise podcast. For more information, visit www.legaladviceinparadise.com.